Good evening. Welcome to the Bobby Moore Stands. My name is Chris, and joining me tonight is a special guest. We've got Aaron Cresswell from Wickford joining us tonight. How you doing, Aaron? You good?
I'm good, mate. How are you? A bit tired from the journey.
Sorry, it's not really Aaron Cresswell. It's Danny. You probably recognise Danny. He's been on a number of the vlogs. I think you've been on all the vlogs that have been on so far. And typically, Danny is the guy there. I shoved the camera right into his face. He kind of quite likes the camera close up, don't you, Dan?
Oh yeah, love it. Yeah. Standing there and you get a camera shoved up your nostril.
You can't beat it, mate. But look, no Gary tonight. Gary's out having a meal. I was going to do this earlier. Apologies, tonight's completely run away with me. However, I wanted to get Danny on. Danny's a good mate. I see him at he goes to pretty much all the games. He knows his football inside and out. So I thought it'd be a good idea to get Dan on tonight. Obviously, you watched the Everton game today. I watched it as well. I've had probably around about 6 hours or whatever nearly now to digest that game. Where to start with this? Where do you start with that game, mate? Right, I'll tell you. For me, a very ineffective display for us today. Again, right. First half, I felt that Everton I think they edged it. I definitely think they edged it for me. We didn't really show much from an attacking point of view. Probably apart from the Bowen chance that he set up for himself, where he set himself for a half volley. Pickford tipped it over the bar. But aside from that, I think it was pretty much Everton rather than us, right? We look pretty composed. I think defensively we look pretty well structured and well disciplined. But then, apart from the Bowen chance, there was a penalty incident. And I think his name is Bond, the referee. I mean, I don't know what he was doing there, but how on earth did he think that one was a penalty, mate?
But, I mean, how a referee is given that in the first place. I mean, he nearly dislocated his knee by kicking the ground. It takes so long to then revert the decision. It's just unreal, really.
Do you know what's so strange about that one is the fact that he didn't even hesitate. He looked at, that's a penalty. That's a penalty. A clear-cut penalty. I looked at it and I'm like, no way is that a penalty. But the funny thing about it is, right? The funny thing about it is when you see Beto after the decision, he's basically ruled out. They've ruled out the penalty. He's still like, how is that not a penalty? He's almost he's lied to himself that he truly believed that was a penalty. It was never a penalty in a million years, right? So I'm glad that didn't happen because that would have been a shame. Because actually, I don't think Mavropanos was terrible today, believe it or not. I'm usually the first to get on his back because I don't rate him, as I've said many, many times on this channel. But actually, if I look at our defence today, I think Kilman looked a little bit more shaky than Mavropanos actually did, in my opinion. I don't know what you thought.
Probably, yeah. But is he then thinking, I've got to cover him at the same time as playing my own game?
Well, do you think that he gets affected by the fact that he has to play with Mavropanos and suddenly he's I don't know, his confidence drops?
Well, you don't know. I can't speak for him, but there must be that element of doubt in his head, knowing that, as we all know, he has got that little mistake in him. But he is only the one mistake. I mean, majority of the time he's pretty stable, but he just lets himself down. Just that one major part of the game.
Are we talking about Mavropanos here, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I just don't know whether that is in the back of Kilman's mind there a little bit.
Well, you know my thoughts on this. I think you know Gary's thoughts because we've spoken together on this collectively games before. But I don't rate him. I think he has all the attributes to be a good defender. I think physically he's got the right attributes. You know, he can head a ball. You know, he's relatively fast for a centre half. But aside from that, he doesn't really offer much. And if he makes one mistake in every single game, that's one mistake too many for me, particularly if it leads to a chance where they actually convert and score against us, right? I think he was okay today, right? It was probably one of his better games if you compare it to every other game he's had this season. But I felt Kilman looked a little bit shaky for me. But you know what? Defensively, we were pretty good today. But my only kind of concern with West Ham is it's almost as if we sacrifice an attack in order to make sure that we can defend, okay, and we don't concede goals, right? It's like it's one or the other. We can't have both. That's what it feels like to me. What do you think of that?
Well, I just think that when Potter's he's obviously were leaking a lot of goals, and I mean a lot of goals. And I think I look today, and I think since he's come in, we've conceded 12 in 11 games. I think he's now been in charge.
Yeah.
So he's shoring up back in the middle of the park. But I think now we've got that sort of core there, and I think we now need to work on a transition from moving the play from the back into the middle, and then actually progressing up the pitch instead of going backwards all the time. Which everyone sort of mentions that, but you need to push the players around forward, and I think he needs to look at more of an attacking now, because I think he's shored up that defensive role.
He has. My concern around what our team at the moment is, I like the fact that we are a lot more resolute in defence. We look more disciplined in defence, and we look like we're going to concede less goals, which has proven the point over the course of the last how many games that Potter's been in charge, right? So ticking the box in that respect. But as I said just now, the concern with how this is working out for West Ham is that we look toothless up front. You know, you could arguably say it's because we don't have a striker up there, but why don't we? Is my argument. And I said this earlier today because Gary and I had a chat this morning about this. I wanted Paqueta to play because I felt that in the previous 2 games, we didn't really have any kind of creativity between the midfield and the attack. There was no kind of conduit there that would set up and create chances for our attacking players, right? You had Bowen and Kudus dropping deep, and they're basically facing a wall of defenders. That's what happened against Newcastle, and the same thing happened in the game before that as well. It was pretty boring stuff, right? So we do really need that focal point. We need a striker up there. We need someone that we can play to rather than drop deep. And so I'm happy with the defence, right? I am relatively happy with defence, but we pose nothing. And I hate to say this, and I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be negative about West Ham because, of course, I'm pleased that Potter's come in, and I'm certainly not going to jump on his back because I think he's done a good job so far. I think you have to give him time. This is our pre-season, is the way I kind of look at it. So he needs time, right? He definitely needs time. But I would like to be entertained, and I am finding this football at the moment pretty boring to watch. I am. And it's funny because I was having a conversation with Gary about this earlier on, and Gary was kind of quite like, he was like, do you know what? I'm all right with this. Don't get me wrong. You've got to respect the point. It's good that we got a point against Everton. Of course it is, right? It's still a point away from home. It's better than a loss. Do you know what I mean? And it's a decent result. But on the face of it, do you feel like we've been conditioned to just accepting these kind of turgid displays recently, like these performances where there's no kind of attack and creativity? There's nothing really there. It's so minimal in every single game that we play at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that, and we all sit there every week, and you look at what you're watching in terms of them trying to create some sort of chance. But I think because we're so deep in terms of defending the goal, we're so far behind the play in terms of when we go forward. We're doing 30, 40-yard doggies backwards and forwards, and you're playing the ball up to Bowen up top. I mean, he needs to hold the ball. He needs the players to get round him and get beyond him. And I think that's where the work now needs to come in.
I think the problem here is that Bowen's not a striker. This is what it shows. He's not a striker, and neither is Kudus. So if you're going to play Bowen and Kudus effectively as kind of unorthodox strikers or our furthest forward players, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work, right? Particularly when you've got no creativity between Bowen and Kudus and the midfield. Because again, like Paqueta, for me, he had a pretty poor game today. He didn't really offer anything. He didn't. If I look at that midfield 3 that we had today in terms of Souček, Ward-Prowse and Paqueta, I thought Ward-Prowse looked pretty tidy. I'm not going to lie. In terms of his ability to spray a pass, I mean, he really can spray a pass, that guy, right? I mean, he was spraying some nice crossfield passes. He looked decent. He looked okay. He was probably one of our better players today, if I'm being honest. But again, we just lack that dynamism in midfield. We lack that creativity. We need that box-to-box midfielder in there that's going to make something happen, kind of grab the game by the scruff of the neck and basically kind of turn it on its head. We haven't had that for ages. Ever since Declan left, we've not had that in our team. And we so miss that, right? We really, really do. Because, there's nothing really that's driving us forward through the middle of the park. There isn't. And I think today, Everton, for me, they bossed it in midfield. They did. But having said that, I do feel that in the second half, we came out and we showed a lot more impetus than we did in the first half, without question. We definitely did. We looked a bit more, dare I say it, we did look a bit more attack-minded. I thought, and let's go to Souček's goal here. Well, that was set up by Bowen. And interesting that because Bowen, in effect, is playing, I think, for that particular moment, was he playing? I think he was on the left-hand side. So, okay, it's not his natural position, but he's playing on the wing, not as a striker. He's cutting in, laying off a nice pass to Souček, who, I mean, to be fair to the guy, I mean, that was one heck of a finish, wasn't it? The way he placed that nice and neat into that bottom corner, the way he turned and set himself and twisted his body round and put that in there. I thought that was a quality finish by Souček. It really was. But what that goes to show is that Bowen seems to be more effective when he's coming in off the flanks, setting up chances, creating chances. Do you know what I mean? Of course, he's a goal scorer. We know he can score goals, but he's not a striker. We need someone in there. And for me, why isn't Ferguson starting? Why? I don't get it. I mean, he came on with what, a minute or 2 minutes to spare today?
I didn't understand that. Literally, 91st minute, I think, it brings Ferguson on. I mean, all right, okay, we went 1-1. But what he should have done, in my opinion, what I would have probably done is get these attacking players on earlier and try and kill the game off. I mean, you're 1-0 up at that point. Let's get the other goal, then change it, and then maybe sit back a little bit more and sort of protect the lead. But Ferguson, I think the only thing I can think of is that he's just not fit enough.
But mate, he's never going to get fit unless he plays games, Danny. This is what I don't understand. Unless he's got some kind of niggling injury where we have to manage it so he doesn't end up being out for a longer spell again or whatever it is. Which, if that is true, then what the bloody is the point? What the hell is the point of bringing him in the first place? If you're going to bring him in, right? I mean, he's been here for what now? Nearly a month. So surely he's got to be in a position now where we can start him. And again, if you look at Todibo, we all know that he's maybe not got the match fitness. So we're subbing him pretty much every game at 65. Today we didn't, was the first time, but we had been doing that for the prior 3 games. So you've got to ask yourself, Evan Ferguson, how is he not getting more game time than he is at the moment? That's what I don't understand. He needs to be, right, for me right now, forget, right, okay, yes, he may be lacking fitness, but he's only going to get that fitness by playing games. Start him in games, and if he's running out of steam, then sub him in the 65th minute and make a change. But just put a bloody striker on there, rather than try and Bowen and Goodison up there, which we've been doing now for the last 3-4 games. It doesn't work. We cannot score goals. We can't score enough goals, and we certainly can't create enough chances to score goals the way we're set up right now. We can't. So for me, we've got to make that change there in the final thirds of the pitch. We've got to, it can't. I just can't see how we're going to be scoring enough or create enough chances, let alone scoring goals in games to win at this moment. I just can't see it. I really can't.
No, I agree, mate. I do agree, but I think that when we do transition, we turn the ball over and win it back from the centre back, and we transition that way, that everybody attacking forward needs to happen. I looked at times today where I think Bowen had the ball up top and on his own, completely isolated, and there wasn't a midfielder trying to burst the gut to get forward to help him. But it goes back to where we're so deep, and the midfielder doing 30-40-yard doggies.
So you happy with the result today? I mean, 1-1 against Everton. What do you think? I mean, what do you think of the overall performance? You've heard what I've had to say. Again, just to reiterate, I thought it was an uninspiring performance. Yes, it was a point. You've got to be, as I say, respect the point away from home. What do you think in general? Happy?
Well, I mean, after the conversations I've logged for the negative Nigels with Johnny and that, I was very optimistic with Newcastle. I did think we had a very good chance of winning that game. And I was more worried about the game today. So I think 1-1 away. I mean, they're unbeaten in 10 now.
That's mad, isn't it? That is absolutely.
you'd take a point.
Do you know what's really bizarre about this, right? David Moyes, as we know, when he was our manager, typically speaking, on average, we would probably have around about 35% possession every game. Okay. And the opponents would have about 65% possession, right? I was looking at the stats here and I'm looking at them now. Today, Everton had 53% possession. We had 47% possession, right? Interestingly, and I don't know if you clocked on this as well, but in the first half in particular, they were pressing quite high up the pitch. He never did this for us. It's almost like he's trying something out a little bit different. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. There was definitely some Moyes ball in there today. Of course, there was definitely that's always going to come out. But it was interesting that, I don't really remember too many games where he was achieving more than 50% possession for West Ham. I don't. I really don't. Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah, to be fair, it is. But I mean, is it because he's had that little bit of time out? Has the game changed that much since
No, mate.
he's? I don't know, but has he sort of reflected on his ways of how he played with us and watched a lot of football in between that time to then say, actually, if I become a manager of someone else again, this is how I'm going to play. Yeah. You just don't know, do you?
I think, Leopard never change its spots, and I think Moyes will always be that type of manager. Low block, low possession, try and hit teams on the counter attack, defensively try and set them up so they're sound. That's what he's like. He's always been like that. Whether it's at Preston, Everton, West Ham, he's always done that. He starts from the back, builds his way forward. Boring football. But it's interesting because I do think that his football. I've watched a few of their games since Moyes has been in charge, purely because I was bored. Do you know what I mean? It was like you're flicking channels. All right, I'll watch a bit of football, Everton on. And I must admit, there've been a few occasions like, that's interesting. Moyes is seemingly playing on not a totally different brand of football, but in certain games he is. I'm like, he didn't really do that for us. But anyway, regardless, I think one thing I will say about today's game, that I'm happy with the point. I'm okay with it. I've said it earlier on today. The season is pretty much dead for me. I think the way I would kind of see this as a positive season in terms of between now and the end of the season is by blooding more younger players, for Potter to identify which players he can rely upon for next season. I think is absolutely crucial, and which areas he knows that he needs to invest in so he can start building a squad for next season. Right. So I'm kind of okay with that. I am. And one thing I actually did quite like today, and I've not been the biggest fan of Moyes, but I really like the fact that he went over to the West Ham fans and he clapped them at the end of the game today. And I think a lot of the West Ham fans clapped him back as well. I don't know what you make about that, but I thought that was a decent touch, to be fair.
Yeah,
and it's nice to see.
I think a lot of the away following started singing Champions of Europe at him, and he was overjoyed. And it didn't end great, but you can't take it away from him what he did for that club, whether you like football or not.
Yeah, it's true. No, it was nice to see. You can't begrudge him with that. And I think, yes, it was the right. I don't want to talk about Moyes too much, but it was the right time for him to go. Good luck to him at Everton as well. By the way, I don't wish him ill, at all. I hope he does well, but not better than us. That's all I'll say. But let's just go to the chat real quick, because we're not going to do a late one. This was late enough as it was starting this. So thank you for those there and everyone in the chat that's joined us tonight. Really appreciate it. Steve saying Ferguson should have come on earlier at 1-0 up. We sat back. Bowen up top just doesn't work for me. Far more effective out on the right. Yeah, I totally agree with you. We already kind of touched upon that one. For me, Bowen's not a striker. It's as simple as that. He is more effective up front and on the wing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know the deal with Ferguson. I really don't. I'm just hoping that, bearing in mind we've got an international break now, and so hopefully he can build his fitness back up so he can be in a position where he can start games. So we've got Wolves away. What's that, Dan?
This goes back to about what Potter wants to do with the team that he's got there. I think he knows what Ferguson can do. So is that why he's holding back a little bit?
Yeah, maybe. Unless I don't know. I mean, you know what? I've no idea. I've no idea what he's thinking. Why he's not playing him? I would imagine it's only down to a lack of fitness. But again, if it is, how is he ever going to get fit? Particularly if you stick him on for 1 minute at the end of today's game. That I don't really get. I don't really get that at all. Steve again. I know he's already said that one. Okay. Let me just scroll through some of these comments. Obsidian evening all, not a bad point. Would have taken it before kickoff. Only gutted because conceding a last minute equaliser. Oh yeah, 100%. It always does feel like a loss. I was gutted by that. But I'll tell you what, Obsidian, it could have been so much more worse though, because they had a chance right at the end, didn't they? Where their player screwed it wide. Imagine that went in the back of the net and we lost 2-1. That would have been sickening, wouldn't it? That really would have been sickening.
Yeah, definitely. I was watching the game with Cutler, that's what I know. And one of the guys said, "Oh, it's West Ham, it's 3 points, it's easy." And I sort of looked at him and said, "There's still 10 minutes left. There could be another 10 minutes added on."
Yeah.
I think you need to go and touch that bit of wood because there's a lot of football still to play. And obviously, when they got an equaliser, we just sort of looked at him and he sort of cowered away. But yeah.
I'm glad that didn't go. That would have been sickening, and I would have felt really bad for the away fans travelling to that game, and to lose a game by 2 goals in the last few minutes is just no. I totally agree with you on that one. What's Mark saying? Why do we always get dodgy refs? He was awarding Everton throws without even looking at his assist. Yeah, I noticed that as well, actually. But I mean, aside from the throw-ins, I mean, the penalty alone, the penalty decision, as I said earlier on, I mean, it's like he didn't. It was like unequivocally speaking, he thought, yeah, that's a penalty. Like penalty straight away. He didn't even delay it, did he? Penalty. What? Like, honestly, I could not believe that. But I'm just so glad that we do have VAR in those situations, because it just goes to show that I mean, Christ, there was no way he could have stuck to his guns on that, is there? No way he could have stuck to his guns on that and awarded them a penalty.
Look at that and say he knows that if it could have been a penalty, he could have let that slide and wait for them to go and pick it up. I mean, him giving that penalty, he kicked the ground.
It was a joke. I mean, he literally swung and missed the ball. It was never a penalty in a million years, which I'm glad it wasn't. Evening, Randy. How you doing, mate? Yeah. So defensively, we have improved, but the attack needs major work. Disappointing not to see that out, but we move on. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. You said exactly that. I mean, defensively, we have improved. So you've got to focus on the positives, but, you know, all I want to see is, as we all do as West Ham fans, is ideally a bit of entertainment. Do you know what I mean? That's all we really want to see. What's Wolf saying? Hopefully Potter doesn't keep starting only 2 attackers. Well, that's the thing. 2 attackers. I mean, they're not strikers. That's the problem, Wolf. They're not strikers. They're both wingers by all accounts. So I'd be quite happy for him to start 2 attackers, but we're talking about 2 wingers that are effectively playing the most advanced forward positions for us. You know, I'd be happy to see a Ferguson up there with Goodison tucked in behind potentially, or Bowen out, whatever, or Goodison on the left, Bowen on the right, Ferguson up top, Paqueta in behind. So that I'd be happy with. That I think would create chances. I absolutely think it would do. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see more of a front 3 as opposed to 2 wingers playing in the further advanced positions. Randy, I do hope we try to get the balance right, as defensively more solid now, but the problem is we're not creating a lot of chances and our strikers not getting much service. Yeah, exactly. I think everyone's pretty much saying the same thing. Can't rely on Wan-Bissaka is your nickname for him, isn't it? Aaron Wan-Bissaka to save us attacking wise like he did against Arsenal. Yeah, you're totally right, Wolf. I mean, you know, to be fair, I still think Wan-Bissaka had a decent game today. He's always Mr. Consistent, isn't he? He was can't fault him today. I thought he had a decent performance.
Yeah, mate. To be fair, I think he's my hammer of the year.
Yeah. Me as well. Yeah, I think Maverick Panos comes a close second. But yeah, definitely Wan-Bissaka. I'm joking, mate. You know I'm joking, mate. You know I'm joking. What's Mark saying? Same with uniformed substitutions Moyes used to do. So Tadiba can only play in it now. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I think we touched upon this earlier because of Ramadan, potentially he's fasting. I think it's a combination of him fasting, but also his lack of match fitness as well is the reason why he's not, playing full games. But he did today though, didn't he? He played the full game today, didn't he? I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did. I don't believe he got hooked on 65 minutes.
No, did he? I think he did come off.
I don't think he did. I don't. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. But I think he played a bit more. Evening, Steve. How you doing, mate? Dave Riley, what you saying? Okay, Dave Riley he's angry. Angry they didn't stop Moyes' unbeaten run. But to be fair, it is the first goal conceded late since Potter come in. I've lost patience with his selections and substitutions. Look, I mean, I get that. But what I would say is Potter's only really been here 5 minutes. I don't think we can be losing patience with a manager that's only been here since, 2 months. Is nothing, absolutely nothing. He's taken over a team of players that are completely disjointed. It's not. There wasn't a huge amount of chemistry there. We had a manager that didn't know his arse from his elbow in Lopetegui. So it was a tough job for him to come into. We do have some very good players, but I think he's still trying to work out which players he can rely on. I genuinely do. I would agree with you, though. I mean, I do think some of his selections and his substitute, particularly certain players that he started. I mean, I wasn't overwhelmed by the fact that Mavropanos started today. I'm not going to lie. I was hoping that we'd play more of a flat back four so we could have players playing further advanced, maybe one more in midfield or one more in attack, whatever it's going to be. But give him time. I don't think you can lose complete patience with the guy. He needs a bit more time. He does, and I'm willing to give him that. I don't know what you feel about that, Dan.
I think personally, I can see him being at West Ham for quite a long time. And I think what he's doing at the minute, he's sussing out the players that he's got available to him, where their best suits play. And I think that next season, he's really going to push on. I really do.
Well, what we really want is we want a manager who's going to be manager of West Ham for the next 3 to 5 years and beyond, right? We want that stability, someone that's going to kind of iteratively improve the team year on year. So let's not forget, he's come in, he's inherited the squad that he has. These are not all his picks. They're not his players. There's only one which is his player, and that's Evan Ferguson, who's clearly not fit enough yet. So you've got to give him time to bring in his own players, bring in his own type of personnel that can basically build the team that he wants. Because at the moment, he's dealing with a lot of players that ultimately, some I'm sure he wouldn't sign up, in fairness. He wouldn't do.
Yeah.
These are just basically players that he's, as I say, he's had to inherit.
Someone actually said that
what's that, Dan?
Perhaps he's not playing Ferguson because he wants to knock 10 million off the price come the end of the season to buy him.
I don't know, mate. From what I've seen so far, and it's very little, I don't think he's the answer for me. I don't. I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong. I mean, I'd like to see him score a few goals, but not too many, because obviously his price tag will go up. I mean, the ideal scenario is maybe he scores a few goals, and then as it gets to maybe the end of the season, Brian, I'm like, you know what, we'll let him go. And then suddenly he's on fire next season for West Ham. That'd be ideal. But I do have my doubts on whether he's going to be the right player for us. Who is? I don't know. I don't even want to speak about Jonathan David and all this stuff because I'm sick and tired of talking about these strikers that never ever happens. But I would like to see us bring in someone that is going to be a genuine goal threat, someone who's a real goal getter, and we've not had that for a while. Someone that's really going to fit into our style of play, because that is the area, right? That is, of course, the area. But the issue going forward is if Potter does get his players and wants to play like this, then the complaints and the lack of excitement when watching the team will be a problem unless the attack improves. Yeah, exactly. But he needs that time, as you say, Randy. He needs that time to get the players in that he wants. And then you can maybe start kind of judging him. But I think at the moment, it's too early to judge him based on players that he's inherited, which I think Don Lowe is also saying. I'm not judging Potter on this season. He's playing with the last two men. Exactly. Playing with the last two players apart from Ferguson's obviously not fit. As boring as it is, let's get through the rest of the season. Yeah, I totally agree with you. But all I would say is I think when you do go to games, and we go to a lot of games, and we pay a lot of money and we put in a lot of effort to go to games as well, whether that's home or whether that's away, you do want to be entertained, right? I said the other day when we did this vlog, Dan, one of the things that I like most about going to games at the moment is I do like the build-up, like I did when I was a kid and I used to go to Upton Park and Boleyn and stuff. I used to love the build-up, the walking up to the game, going to the pub, getting a bit to eat, talking to people that all that kind of stuff. I loved all that. And at the moment, that really is the only kind of pleasure that you get out of going games, because as soon as you go to a game, you're watching it. And I mean, I was sat next to you the other day, weren't I, for the Leicester game. I moved over seats because it's so easy to sit where you want nowadays at the stadium, because you start empty seat over there, empty seat over there. Oh, yeah, I'll go and sit with my mate over there. So you called me over to Chris, I think it's like 5 seats next to you, whatever it was. And we were talking, weren't we? We were talking for pretty much the whole of the second half. I mean,
yeah.
Mental, absolutely mental.
Yeah, we did get the riff-raffing for the second half.
It was funny though. It was funny. We were talking about, and do you know what? I've got to ask the chat on this one, because this is a funny one, right? What the hell is Areola doing with his look? I mean, good God, he's turning into like the goalkeeping version of Ron Jeremy right now, isn't he? I mean, he looks like a flipping 70s porn star. I mean, I don't know what that's all about. I really don't. It's it's a weird look, isn't it? It's a weird look.
He's probably come out as his love child.
What's that?
He's probably going to come out one of his love child, I think.
It's a strange one. It's a strange one. I don't know. All right, let me just skip through. So there's a lot of someone saying that. As for Guilherme, what the fuck is happening? Loppy doesn't rate him, and now it seems neither does Potter. Yeah, I've been asking the same question myself, Steve. Really strange one, that one for me. Pass. I don't know. We all want to see him. We all want to see these kids do well. When you get a young Brazilian kid come through at West Ham, you think, do you know what? Yeah, I'd love to see him, do well. Of course you do. You want all your young players to do well, particularly a kid that we've signed for what, 18 odd million pound apparently. But it's a weird situation why he does not get any minutes. He doesn't get anything. I don't get that, because when you think about it, he would be, because bearing in mind, one of his major attributes is his pace. So surely bringing him on when you really want to stretch the game, when you're playing, your opponents are tiring out a little bit, get him on, get the ball to him, play it. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Ping the ball over to him and let him run at defenders. Surely that would be an attribute that would be really beneficial for us from an attacking perspective. But we don't use him. So Is it because he's not good enough? Is that the reason? And you've got to ask that question now. I think you've got to. People can say, yeah, but he's only young, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get that. Totally understand that he's only young. Totally understand the fact that he has to move to a new country and adapt to a whole new environment and everything else. I understand that completely. But if he's talented enough, if he's got enough talent, I'm sure he would have played more minutes than he has so far. And I can't escape that thought in my head, mate.
Well, I don't know, to be fair, because I think, obviously Gary fell in love with him, didn't he, at Chelsea away? Hence the new picture.
We all want him to do well, though, Dan. We all want Guilherme to do well. Of course we do, but we'll never know at this rate.
He's not really featured though, and you've got to ask the question as to why.
Yeah.
Is there something going on that we're not really fully aware of?
I
don't know.
There's a lot of negative comments on here. Steve, I'm not happy it's so dull and boring. Ian Carvel Potter threw that game away. I think some of his subs were slightly contentious, some of the decisions that he made from a substitution point of view, I must admit. That being said, I've got to be honest with you. I wanted him to hook Souček before he scored the goal, and then he goes and scores the goal, and he stays on the pitch a bit longer, and he actually did okay. So I don't know. It's one of those. It's easy to say, isn't it? After the game, in hindsight, he should have done this, he should have done that. But yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree with you a little bit there, Ian. I think from a substitution point of view, there was a few ones that I didn't quite understand. The main one being Ferguson coming on with.
Yeah, I know that Souček got a good goal. But overall, I thought he was poor today. And also, I thought Goodison as well. He's really not been on it at all.
Danny, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I don't know what happened. I think I got cut off there or something. So look, Foxes are screaming. Three dull games on the bounce. I mean, it has been. But look, we've got 2 weeks now of an international break. So maybe, just maybe, that's enough time to get some of these players up and running, getting their fitness up, particularly likes of Ferguson, hopefully Paqueta as well, because he's just come back from injury. Hopefully some of it will be back as well after that period of time, fingers crossed. And also Fulkrug, I mean, he's back training with the team again now, isn't he? So maybe he's going to be back. So let's just wait and see what happens. We've got Wolves next. I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Hopefully it's not going to be a dull game there, because I'm going and I don't want to see another dull game.
Well, look, I mean, you've got that.
Yes, they're unbeaten in 10.
So he's going to be a massive.
Yeah, it has been. But look, you've got to look at the improvements, right? We wanted a manager to come in and I think improve us defensively, because we were conceding goals way too easily. We're not nowadays. Let's be honest. We're not conceding goals too easily now. I mean, if you look at the goal that Everton scored today, I don't even think that you can particularly blame Mavropanos for that one. I don't. The way that cross was swung in through, I think it was Idrissa Gueye, wasn't it? So they pinged the ball over, Idrissa Gueye got it, and he whipped that in really, really quick. It's hard for a defender to set themselves into the right position at that particular moment. So you've got to kind of give credit where it's due and say that was a decent goal. You could say it was Mavropanos' man if you're being really harsh and critical. I don't think so, But like I say, we're not conceding as many goals and as many stupid goals as we had before, mate,
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think, to be fair, I think he probably could have done a little bit better.
What in that particular
Yeah, I
goal?
think so. I think he was just a little bit off. I think he was probably caught ball watching a little bit.
I don't know. Look, mate, you know me. I'm the first one to criticise Mavropanos. I'm clearly not his biggest fan, you know. So if he's done something wrong, but I just feel for that goal. Yeah, I think it's a little bit harsh to have to dig him out on that one. He made a few little errors today. Let's be honest. He did make a few little errors. There was one where a ball came through, and I can't remember when it was. Ball came through, and he just basically kind of like dummied it, expecting, I think, Areola or Kilman behind him to sweep up. It's a bloody Everton player behind him. Do you know what I mean? And it's like sometimes his awareness of what's going on, around him, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not there. So no, I'm not a fan of his, but I'm not going to blame him for that goal. I'm not. I think it's a little bit harsh, to be honest with you, Dan. You're very harsh, mate. Very harsh.
Can I just ask you though, Chris, on that? Is that I've noted that we are second to every ball, especially in the middle of the park. It's bouncing around. We never come out and with that ball at all. And you know what? You win your battles in the middle of the park. And we never seem to get it. Always comes off a knee or their knee and it lands to one of their players. We're never lucky in that way. We need to change that like in the middle of the park. Because I think if you change that, then you progress and you kick forward.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. Not all the time, but quite frequently, I know what you mean. Because sometimes, like you say, if you're not winning the first balls, you expect to be there challenging for the seconds. And sometimes I don't see that. I don't know why that is. I don't know, but I know what you mean. I don't think that's happening all the time. I think it happened more under Lopetegui. I will point that out. It definitely happened more under Lopetegui, not as much under Potter. Yeah, pass, mate. I couldn't tell you. Right, what are we saying here? I understand why he's going defensive. With our awful midfield, teams will cut through us again. But at least start 3 attackers. Bowen and Goodison alone are not enough for me. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I do understand that because I do think our midfield isn't strong enough. I've said that many, many times. I don't understand why he didn't play Edson Alvarez today. I don't really get that because he is our classical holding central midfielder. Why is he not? I didn't get why he didn't start that game.
No,
I mean, he's on the bench, wasn't he? Yeah, he was on the bench, wasn't he? This is not an injury situation. He was on the bench.
Yeah, on the bench. I thought it was a really odd decision.
I mean, why not stick him there, okay, and allow our midfielders to push on a little bit higher up, right? I don't really get that. I didn't get that decision at all. That was the one weird one for me. I didn't quite understand.
No, I agree.
Yeah, pass. Honestly, really pass for that. God, sorry, there's so many chats.
I don't think that really has been very, very good since he's come back.
Yeah, he was decent today. He was decent today, actually. I mean, I think even Gary called it out a couple of games ago. He played the way he was playing was very kind of like Mark Noble-esque, right? It was, he was neat and tidy, passing the ball. He was good in possession. He was getting his foot in. You could see him putting some decent challenges. But I think he has a point to prove because he weren't getting into the Forest team. Clearly Lopetegui didn't want him. Otherwise, he would have retained him at the start of the season rather than sending him out on loan. So I think he's come back here thinking, I need to prove myself here. I do. So no, I would agree with you. He's been decent. He's been probably one of our better central midfielders recently.
You can see it happen now. It's written in the stars. The free kick is going to come. That'll be a winner against Forest at home.
Mate, if it happens, I'll be delighted. But I think we've been talking about that elusive free kick for him to equal Beckham's record forever, haven't we? Whenever that happens, I don't care. Do you know what? We'll have to wait and see. What's Darren saying? How you doing, Darren, mate? Evening, both of you. Yet again, Suchek scores, and yet again, Guilherme doesn't get a chance. What's the poor sod got to do to get on the pitch, and what's the point of having in Ferguson when he doesn't start? Yeah, we've spoken about that. Don't know. Pass on all those points. Really, really don't know. But I agree with you on all of that. Really do. Where was Alvarez today? Well, he was sat on the bench. I did see Alvarez, funny enough, I think it was at the start of the game. Now, I thought that Alvarez and David Moyes didn't get on, but them two were hugging each other before the game. It's quite an interesting one. They look quite happy to see each other.
No, I don't think
makes you wonder whether the rumours were true. Apparently there was last season. Oh, yeah. There was a lot of noise about that last season. Do you not remember when he got hooked and he couldn't even get back into the team?
Yes, dude.
At half time, he had some kind of quite tasteful words to say to David Moyes. And after that point, he barely got a look in, not at least until the tail end of the season. So, but today they were hugging it out. They were hugging it out. All right, Chris, I don't why we try Paqueta in the 8 role next to Alvarez with Goodison, Bowen, Ferguson, and when Somerville comes back. I mean, there's a lot of variations that we could try out. Yeah, I mean, quite possibly that could work. I don't see why it wouldn't work. I mean, they're both two very different types of midfielders, so in theory they would complement each other. Look, Paqueta can be a nasty bastard as well. I mean, make no mistake about it. He likes to get his foot in. He does. And also he does offer that creative flair. However, I'm going to kind of caveat that whole thing right now because I just don't know where his head's at right now, Dan, anymore. I don't know whether or not he's just got too much going on, you know, with the whole kind of betting scandal that is really impacting his performances because he's not playing anywhere near to the levels that he had been. There have been moments, there have been a few games here or there, and let's be honest, when Potter first came in as manager, he was probably our best player under Potter for the first few games, you know, the Villa game. But he's nowhere near the levels, is he? He's nowhere near the levels, as is Goodison, nowhere near the level that you know he can be. With the quality that he has, with the talent that he has, he's just not there, is he?
No, it's not. And I mean, he's a human being at the end of the day. And if that was you having that hanging over your head, you're probably going to have the same sort of reaction and feeling to what could happen in weeks to come.
Oh, yeah.
And it is going to affect your performance at the end of the day. I'm sure of it. I'm sure it'll affect you. It'll probably affect me. Goodison, I mean, he just lacks confidence, I think. I think he needs someone to put an arm around him and say, look, you're going forward. I think it was at a game at Newcastle. He was breaking forward. He's the furthest player. And he had one man to beat. And he's through on goal. He checks back. I mean, I looked today at the goal that he scored in the 5-0 win against, who was it at home? Fireball, wasn't it? When he picked it up in his own half. Yeah, and he just walks through the players that he didn't make them look like they were there. And he just popped it back in the net. Where's that play gone?
I don't know, mate. He's a shadow of his former self, isn't he? He is. And I think even today there were moments where he tracked back, or maybe he took the ball one step too far and he couldn't beat his man. Or maybe, I mean, there was one particular moment where his first touch was hideous. You know, it's little things that you notice. You're like, that's not the Goodison of old. The only thing I will say is I think as soon as we did score that goal, as soon as Souček scored that goal, suddenly Goodison started playing a lot better. I think particularly from a defensive point of view, he was getting stuck in. He was working his bollocks off down that right-hand side. He was. I've got to hand it to him. He was. But he was missing for the first 65 minutes, is the truth. You know, he offered nothing.
He was, but could you say
nothing at all.
Could you say then that he's feeling the pressure that he's carrying the team in a way, and the team are looking at him to create something?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. You could say that. I mean, you could also say, does he really give a shit? You could. I mean, all of these things are open, right? They're all open for debate because we just don't know, do we? We don't know where his head's at. Does he want to stay at West Ham? Does he want to go to another club? And I'll tell you one thing: if he does want to go to another club, I don't really know many clubs that are going to want to go and shell out 85 million for him based on his performances this season. I can't think of many. I really can't. Which is remarkable because, you know, for me, we're talking about a player that's at least £100 million player on his day. He's got that much of talent and ability to, you know, command that type of transfer fee. Yes.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I 100% agree. And if I was stumping up 85 million, I wouldn't be paying that based on this season alone.
No, but look, the thing is, if say hypothetically Liverpool came in for Goodison, and I've said this before, it'd be probably 10 times the player he is at West Ham. Because first of all, he's got better players around him. Second of all, they'll give him the license and the freedom to roam further forward rather than track back and defend like he is doing at West Ham. I think he's going to become much more of an effective player. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah. Oh, Randy, what I can't understand with Guilherme, if you don't want to use him, then why do we reject the offer from Shakhtar and the other one from Brazil if we're not going to use him? Yeah, I don't know. I really, really, really do
I think
not know.
Potter put
Who
the stop
knows?
to
Who
that,
knows
didn't
the
he?
answer to this? Yeah. Well, I suppose he did that because he doesn't know enough about him, does he? Because when you think about it, Potter comes in pretty much towards the tail end of the transfer window. You've got clubs coming in for his players that he doesn't really know. Is he going to go and send them out? Probably not. He's probably going to think, no, maybe I need to retain them and see what they're about before I get rid of them because I need to make sure I've got a squad here that I can rely on.
And the injuries at the time.
Yeah. Ray, okay, Mav is a bit of a cock-up fairy. Guarantee he'll give chances no matter who we're playing. 100%. What more could be said to that?
It was like Villa away in the cup,
100%.
wasn't it? He tried to tackle the game with the head.
Mate, it's not just Villa in the cup, mate. You know, it's
example.
You can count every bloody game pretty much that he's played. There's always an.
I think a ball come over the top today, and it obviously it was lost sight, but it just dropped and it went through his legs. And into
Yeah. No, it did. No. Yeah, that was at the end. That was the chance Everton had. It went through his legs. He got nutmegged, didn't he? And then, their player basically screwed it wide. I know. You couldn't make it up. So Johnny saying apparently Alvarez has been ill this week. Okay, well, if that's the case, then that makes sense, right? Definitely makes sense. Right. So I don't know, Chris. Your streaming is a bit slow, mate. I don't know what that means, but yeah, what does that? My internet speed is. Can people let me know in the chat? Is it not running at the right speed? I don't know. I think I lagged out a little bit, didn't I, a couple of minutes ago?
Possibly, mate. It's always you having.
Yeah, quite possibly. We've had a few technical issues tonight. Can someone let me know, Darren? I can see you're still in the chat, mate. Is the stream a bit funny? Is it running a little bit delayed or something?
It's always your IT issues.
Coming from you, mate. Coming from you. Honestly, I'm not even going to go there. I'm really, really not even going to go there. I'm not going to go there at all. But no, look, where do we go from here, right? I mean, we've already been on for 47 minutes, but like we've got 2 weeks international break. Jared Bowen called up to England squad, of course, which I'm really pleased about. Bit annoying that Aaron Wan-Bissaka didn't get called up. I think he deserved it. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I would have put him in there probably third name on the team sheet. I think he's been superb. And also, I mean, Gibbs White
called up Skelly, didn't they?
Look at Gibbs White, what he's done at Forest this year.
Yeah.
Not even had a sniff.
Wait, Henderson, mate. What the bloody hell is he doing in the squad? That's a weird one, isn't it?
Mate, it's unbelievable. I don't get that.
It is. Honestly, mate. I mean, seriously, Cresswell, I think you got a bit of a chance, mate. So, hands up in the chat here if you think Danny's got Cresswell's hairstyle. Definitely have. That's definitely Cresswell's hair.
He's jealous, mate.
I mean, to be fair, I can't say much, but my hairline's a little bit. Yeah, but my hairline's a bit higher. My hairline's a bit higher, right? I've got, as my daughter calls it, the McDonald's hairline, right? Because I'm getting a little bit bald up here. I'm not going to lie. It's true. But I've kind of been like this most of my life. But you've got like a very good hairline, straight, a bit like Cresswell, straight there in the quiff. Definitely got the Cresswell look going on. But I do think, I remember one time at half time we met up outside and someone turned around and said, bloody hell, you look like Frank Lampard, didn't they?
All right, mate. And yes, they did. And I said, I'm not that fat.
And what did you say? Yeah. Oh, okay, Darren, that's interesting. So apparently I look like a foreign movie when it's dubbed. So I want to put my hand over my mouth now because I'm going to look like I'm Bruce Lee or something, aren't I? You know, those old movies. I don't know what's going on. Tonight. Sorry, people. But hey, look, I think we can call it a day, mate, because it's 11 o'clock and I didn't expect to be on this late tonight. I really didn't. So, 2 weeks break. We've got Wolves away next game. I'm looking forward to that. I am looking forward to that game. Let's just hope that we can have much more of an attacking threat, a bit more creativity. Do you know what I mean? A bit something for the fans to really sing and shout about, right? That's what we need, don't we? That's all we want.
Yeah,
you know, I'm not really too fussed about league. I'm not too fussed about league positions now, Dan. I'm not. I'm really not too fussed about league positions. All I care about now is seeing players come out, play for the shirt, give it their all. I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. I think if we can go there and pose a bit more threat going forward, take that into Liverpool.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. All right. So look, let's leave it there. Thank you very much, everyone in the chat, for turning up so late this evening. It's much appreciated. Darren, I know you said, "Where's Gary on the piss again?" No
prawn
comment.
Sandwich.
I'll let Gary speak. Yeah, he's not having a prawn sandwich tonight. No, I think Gary's out having a meal this evening. So no, I think he's being sensible tonight. So yeah, but look, thank you again, everyone in the chat, for turning up. Much appreciated. As always, appreciate your liking. If you can like, it does make a difference. I'm sure you hear all the other channels say the same thing, but it's true. All you got to do is click on that little thumbs up. It does help. It really does. And subscribe if you haven't already. Lots of interesting content coming up, by the way. I interviewed an ex-player 2 nights ago. Such an interesting story. Such an interesting life this guy's got, mate. Honestly, I've spoken to a lot of players in my time, but rarely have I spoken to an individual that has had such a diverse life. And that's all I'm going to say. I mean, that's all I'm going to say, right? So, yes, thank you again. Vindaloo breakfast, absolutely. That'll be Gary tomorrow morning. Thanks again, chat. Much appreciated. Have a lovely rest of your evening, lovely rest of your weekend. And, yeah, we shall see you soon. Thank you, Danny. It's been really good.
No, thanks, mate. Appreciate the late call up and everyone in the chat. And come on, you on.
It's the first time I've not zoomed my camera to my nostrils like I do on the vlogs.
Not felt violated at all.
We'll have to change that. I should have really zoomed into your face, shouldn't I? But thanks, Danny. Enjoy the rest of your night, people. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Come on, you irons.